That is President Trump just wrapping up a rally in Topeka, Kansas. A really very, very positive speech on an incredible day where we witnessed history with an associate justice being confirmed and sworn in to the United States Supreme Court. It's the culmination of one of the most contentious Supreme Court hearings that we've ever seen in American history. And this president, of course, in Topeka, Kansas, talking about all of the great things that have been done. A huge day for him, a huge day for the Republican Party as he continues to march through the country to get people to support the candidates in their states just prior to the midterm. A fired up President Trump, clearly doing what he does best, just wrapping up that rally speech in Topeka, Kansas. Well, we have a political panel here tonight. CPAC Chairman Matt Schlapp, an NRA TV contributor, former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino, to break it all down tonight. All right, guys, first of all, I just want to get your take on the huge day that the president had. I mean, you could sense the excitement of the crowd, the excitement of the president today. What do you think, Matt?
What I think is interesting is that we had one of the biggest votes that we'll ever see in the United States Senate with Brett Kavanaugh, now Justice Kavanaugh. And you can see how intertwined it is in politics, because here the president is out at the rally. What's the number one thing they wanted to hear about? They wanted to hear about this great victory at the Supreme Court. It means that this victory by President Trump with Kavanaugh is going to make Republicans' jobs easier in November.
Well, and you know, Dan Bongino, last week you had quite an energized panel discussion with Chris Hahn talking about how horrible Kavanaugh, now Justice Kavanaugh, was treated. This week was an incredible week in terms of the turnaround with the president in Mississippi and how he then kind of changed the conversation to back to Christine Ford. What would you say to Chris Hahn, who isn't here tonight?
You know, I was disappointed in Chris last week because he's a personal friend of mine, but he did something last week that disgusted me. He attacked and he jumped on this liberal train to destroy this good man, Brett Kavanaugh, a patriot. And I mean, a really good man, Judge. I was deeply offended by that. But today, this is a vindication. And Chris, you know what? You know what I got to say? How you like them apples? That's what I got to say. Reminds me of that scene in Good Will Hunting when he knocks, so you like apples? How you like them apples? This was a vindication, Judge. A vindication of, one more point on this, a vindication of Trumpism, and Matt knows it too. Listen, for too long we've been in a boxing match, a political boxing match with the left wearing brass knuckles, and we're appealing to the ref, the media. Please tell him to take the brass knuckles off. Trump took the gloves off. He's fought back. We got tax cuts, economic growth, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh. Trumpism's been vindicated. Take a victory lap tonight.
It's unbelievable. In fact, all my viewers, the president is going to be calling in the next few minutes. I'm sure after he gets out of the arena there in Topeka, Kansas, we'll be able to talk to him. On, I think, one of the most exciting days of his presidency. I mean, who could have predicted that this would actually happen, Matt? I mean, it was Brett Kavanaugh went from this great circuit court judge to a guy involved in gang rapes, a sexual predator. I mean, it was, I think, some of the darkest days they had to be of Brett Kavanaugh's life. And now he's back up and just sworn in as an associate justice of the Supreme Court.
And it shows you how our politics has changed, because the only reason that happened is that Brett Kavanaugh went to that hearing in the Senate and connected with the American people and honestly and aggressively pushed back on these scurrilous charges. It was that moment that sealed his fate so that he would actually be confirmed in the Senate. And I think there were people across this country who were so enthralled, I think maybe even people in the White House there as well, by the sheer honesty and the emotion of all this, because every American felt the pain of this. They know what it's like when someone gets railroaded, and he was the personification of great injustice.
You know, it wasn't just being railroaded, Matt, and I'll go to you, Dan. It was about eliminating the presumption of innocence.
Right.
It was about a mob rule dictating that all women should be believed and men should just shut up. My fear was that Lady Justice was not only, having the bandage ripped off and told which way to go, but that she was being thrown out of the game totally. And that was frightening, I think, to a lot of Americans who believe in the system, believe in the presumption of innocence. And I think it may have brought out people who would never have really cared about a Supreme Court nomination.
Right, but Judge, the reason we won here is important. What you just said is absolutely accurate. The left has done this before. They lob a grenade onto the political battlefield, and that grenade ends in ist. Racist, misogynist. In this case, it was rapist, which was disgusting.
Wow.
And in the past, a lesser president, Judge, would have backed away immediately and said, hey, Judge, for the better of the country, step aside. Trump said, no, not today. And Matt hit the nail on the head. When Brett Kavanaugh got up there and said, not today, not on my watch. I may not sit on the Supreme Court, but you're not going to crap on my reputation and decades of good work for this country and my family. Matt is absolutely right.